Good evening, gamers. Tonight I bring you a gift more valuable than gold. Another opinion on Starfield. I know there's already a million of them out there, but this one's unique. This one's not like the other reviews. This one's quirky and zany with a real nice personality and a big pair of honkers. It's my full thoughts on Starfield so far, so it is going to be a review, but it's also kind of an admission of my weakness because I'm just gonna take the egg on my face here and say I don't think I'm finishing the game. Now, everyone says that the game gets good after 12 hours. I am just shy of that 12-hour mark, and I gotta be honest with you, sports fans, I can't envision a world where I hit that 12-hour mark and a switch flips on and all of a sudden it's exhilarating. It blows my hair back and it's a masterpiece. Like, I don't see that happening. But let's just assume that we are in a fantasy dimension where that is the case. That still doesn't excuse the first 12 hours being miserably paced and excruciatingly uninteresting. Like, that is still a bad design if you have to invest 12 hours before the game actually gets good. So, I don't know if that claim is just cope or if that really is true, but even still, it doesn't negate my feelings on how this first just under 12 hours experience has been going. You shouldn't have to put that much time into a game before it makes it worth it. And I want to be clear right away so there's no confusion. It's not because I think the game is bad. In fact, quite the opposite. I think everything in the game is good. But it's also extraordinarily boring and underwhelming. I struggle to stay awake playing it. It's like the cure for insomnia for me. I would rather be listening to my college professor lecture me on the Krebs cycle through Vimeo videos as homework. It would keep me more stimulated than playing through the main quest line in Starfield. And it's not like they've done anything wrong. The thing is, I went into this expecting, on this outrageous amount of hopium, that this would truly be an ambitious Bethesda title that would finally evolve their formula and push it forward. But unfortunately, that's not what it is. This is the standard Bethesda experience that many of you probably know and love, but set in space. No more, no less. And you'll see that sentiment echoed across pretty much every single player out there. That's like the only universally agreed upon thing when it comes to this game. This is a very divisive game, but you'll find one common thread, that everyone agrees that if you like the standard Bethesda formula, you'll probably like Starfield. And I completely agree. This is the standard Bethesda formula. And for me personally, I'm just exhausted with it. Not because of oversaturation. It's not like they keep constantly feeding Bethesda titles to you, like shoving them down your throat every year like Call of Duty or anything. And that's probably why for a lot of people this game is so comfy and is so exciting to them, because it finally scratches that Bethesda itch that they've had since the last title. But for me, that itch only gets scratched if the game is an improvement or something bigger. Like, I wouldn't want to just keep playing the same game with a different skin. I loved the Bethesda formula a decade ago, and this feels like it's stuck in the past. This feels like it's still playing with fidget spinners right now. It just, with all of the hype and all of the claims that they were making about this game pre-release, I would have expected so much more than just being complacent with the exact same Bethesda experience that you're used to with a different coat of paint. Now, it's a beautiful coat of paint. I actually love all of the main locations that I've visited so far, and it's not like there's no new mechanics or anything. Like, the ship customization is super in-depth and really cool. The ship combat I wasn't a huge fan of, but it's not bad by any means. Like, I think it's a good implementation. I would have liked it to be a little more fleshed out, but overall, like, it's still fine and it's super functional. There's a couple other things as well, but I don't know if I can mention them because that'd be spoilery, and I'm not trying to just dump spoilers on you like a jump scare. But there are new things they added. But none of those new things are all that new per se. They're new to the Bethesda formula, but they're very familiar with many things you've seen in many other titles over the last decade. That doesn't make them bad. Again, I don't think there's actually anything bad in the game, aside from the main quest storyline. The writing in the main quest line is lazier than my summer book reports in high school. Like, it is kind of laughable at points. They really phone that in. It is some formulaic silliness. I don't want to get too deep on it, but that was the only thing that I think is, like, actually weak. Everything else is fine and good in certain cases. But somehow the game still manages to keep a neutral expression on my face. It doesn't make me smile, it doesn't make me giggle, spit up, and kick my feet in my chair or anything. Like, I don't get excited by the game, because I feel like I've already played this so many times with Bethesda. Like, for example, the engine that this runs on hasn't changed in a long, long time. So, during the main quest line, especially, there's almost no facial animations for any of the NPCs, so it takes all of the emotional investment and immersion right out of it, because you'll be getting great voice acting from all of these characters, but then you're looking at the character, you're having this goddamn staring contest where they're just staring a hole through your soul, and there's nothing on their face. Even when it's like an emotional beat, there's nothing. So it makes everything so fucking stiff. It's like all you can do is communicate with mannequins like it's I Am Legend. Like, if you're lucky, the extent of the expressions you'll experience in the Starfield main quest line is this. And you are beyond fortunate if you even get that much. Because most of the time, and this is even outside of the main quest line, NPCs will give you the meanest stink eye this side of the galaxy's ever seen. If you talk to them or if you walk by them, they'll hit you with this. Like, they're just constantly concerned, like, keeping a close eye on you. Like, it's like they're all fucking spies or something. Everyone's giving you the reverse Kubrick stare, and they all look like absolute psychopaths. I don't know if that's like a bug or what, but that is a very common expression that you're going to get in your playthrough, no doubt. Now, one thing that they are absolutely right about when it comes to the claims they made about this game is the bugs being much lesser than you're used to. There was a lot of hype around this being the least buggy Bethesda title. And so far, in my playthrough, I've only experienced a handful of bugs, and none of them are game-breaking. Like, there's no big bugs that I've seen on my playthrough, or even in any of the other playthroughs I've been watching. So this game really is pretty light on Bethesda jankiness, which is great. That's really surprising, because especially given the scope of the game, I would have thought this would be by far their glitchiest one. But no, they put WD-40 on those squeaky wheels, and they lubricated it. They massaged it. There is not a whole lot of bugs here. So, big W on that. And speaking of W's, there is some good writing outside of the main quest line. There is a ton of different things you can do. It's hard to talk about a lot of this without getting into spoilers. But there's a lot of different like factions and a lot of different side quest lines that are pretty deep and intricate. I haven't done a ton of them. I've only done a handful of side quests. But there are some that are far more interesting than the main quest line. Significantly more interesting and better executed. Though I have seen a couple of side quest lines that a couple of friends of mine were streaming. And in one of them, it felt really important. Like, they exposed a big web of corruption, and there was a prominent figure that got outed for some bad shit. And once they completed the side quest, nothing changed. That character is still in the exact same position, so that whole side quest, even though you completed it, didn't really have an effect, which takes all of the wind out of the sails and makes the journey feel kind of worthless if nothing actually changes in the game. I don't know if that was a bug, or maybe they weren't done, but it seemed like they were, and they seemed to think that they were. So I don't know if that's commonplace or if that was like some kind of rare exception. But for the most part, the side quests are significantly more interesting than the main one. Now, let's get to some things that I think people have been misled by. And by far the biggest one, and the one that Starfield really put a lot of eggs in the basket of, is exploration. The go to any planet, explore. You can explore for thousands of hours. There's 1,000 planets to explore, and they're all fucking amazing. You're going to lose yourself in here. You're going to jack into the Starfield world, and you never want to go back to cringe old Earth. The real world is, can't even compete with what Starfield's got. And man, that couldn't be more wrong. That is so far from the truth, it makes me want to spit. I tried to do the exploring. I really did. But when you explore a planet, like let's say you go to one of the main planets, and instead of going to the main city, you land somewhere else on the planet. My thought was, with everything they said, you could land on that side of the planet and then run all the way to the main city if you wanted to. And I tried to test this because I thought it was a cool idea. For example, I had contraband on my ship. And when you're going to one of these planets, that is a central one, really, they will scan your ship, and if you have contraband, they either arrest you or you become an outlaw and they'll try and hunt you down and all that, and then you can't land at the main city. So I decided to try the outlaw thing. I ran away, and then I landed on the planet outside of the main city where you're allowed to do that with contraband. And I thought it would be really cool if I ran from there to the main city so I could keep my contraband, keep my ship parked outside, and still continue the main quest while keeping the contraband and never going to jail. So I started running, and I ran for about 15 minutes. And it turns out you can't run from that to the main city or anything like that on any planet, apparently. There's a lot of invisible walls, if you can believe that, which is very disappointing to hear. And during my entire journey, spent going across this planet, it was entirely fucking empty. Just rocks, flat ground, and a couple of space animals. And by couple, I mean one space animal type per planet from everything I've seen, and they just kind of stack them occasionally in clusters so it feels like it's somewhat alive, and that's it. There's a couple of places you can visit outside there, such as like a cave that has a little bit more to it, or like a very small little mining colony on that planet in particular where there's like 5 people and a robot, and that's it. There's nothing to explore. Nothing at all to explore from what I've seen. Unless you just really love sitting in an empty, open world with nothing to do. Now, there was a moment during this long, empty voyage here through the void where a spaceship flew in, and it was like a random event. Some outlaws coming in. They parked, and I snuck aboard their ship, and I killed all of them. And the game has a cool mechanic where you can steal ships, which I think is great. And I decided to try and unleash a bit of a galaxy brain gamer maneuver. I still had all my contraband on the ship that I parked way back on that planet. And now I just stole this completely fresh outlaw ship. So I thought, maybe I can keep my ship parked over there, and I take this ship to the main city, because there's no contraband here, so if they scan it, it'll be clean, and I should be able to land there. I thought this would be a really creative way of getting around the scan and the contraband, while being able to keep it without ever being arrested or anything. But it turns out you can't do that. So I stole the ship, and what it did is it put the contraband from my main ship onto this new stolen ship. And thus, the contraband was immediately alerted to the space hall monitors, the police force, so they came and they blew me up. So it just feels like, at least so far in my limited playtime with it, of course, since apparently 12 hours is the bare minimum before things really open up, that there's not as much freedom in this game as I was led to believe there would be, especially with the exploration. There really isn't anything overly ambitious about this game. Procedurally generated, soulless, empty worlds to explore isn't fun. Like, yeah, there's a ton of planets you can go to, and that's cool, I guess, until you actually go there and realize how tiresome it is, and how not fun at all that component of it is, which is a huge selling point of it. It's just disappointing, really. Now, another big thing is, this game is kind of like a loading screen simulator. Since exploration is so fucking awful, most of the time you're just going to be fast traveling around this game anyway. So you're constantly going to be going from loading screen to loading screen. And on PC that's fine because it's quick, but it's just constant loading screen simulator anytime you're doing anything, because you don't really have any reason to explore or actually run there. There's just not a lot of interesting things to do along the way, so why not fast travel? So there's a lot of that. And another bafflingly odd decision is there's no real map. So if you go somewhere in the game, you land on a planet, land in a city, wherever, if you try and bring up a map, there isn't one. And I don't get why. It's super easy to get lost because of that, when it was so easily rectifiable. Just put a fucking map. Like, it's 2023 and now we took away the map? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what's there is bad. Like, it's not even replacing a map, it's just there is none. What you can do is pull up your scanner and do like 360 degrees in circles to try and locate the interesting point you want to go to. Like, if you want to go to the industrial district of a place, you can pull up your scanner and then look around with your character and then see over there, and then you can run at it. But there's no actual map. So it gets very confusing, like pretty often actually, until you really start to become super familiar with the locations. And another decision that's just, I don't understand why they wouldn't even think to include it, is there's no vehicles to explore the empty worlds. Like, if there was vehicles or a faster way of traversing them, I guess it could be a little more interesting, because then at least it wouldn't be a massive time investment of doing nothing. But there's no, like, Mako or anything. There's no vehicle to get you around in any kind of timely fashion. So it just makes it even more monotonous. At least there's not so far, and I haven't seen one from any of the footage I've watched from this, from any of the streamers. I guess it's possible that there is later, maybe. I don't really know, but even still, it is a huge oversight not to at least have something to make exploring a little more interesting and a little less slow. At least I feel like it's an oversight not to have something like that, because all it can do is improve the game by making it a little more fun to just get from point A to point B. But yeah, another thing, the combat is better in this game than most Bethesda games in terms of like how fluid and smooth the shooting itself is. Like, the gameplay is smoother, for sure. And the jetpack, I'm not using the jetpack in my playthrough, I'm doing a fucking caveman build, so mainly melee. The jetpack is cool from everything I've seen, and it has some nice perks that can make things very interesting. So I do think Bethesda has polished off their shooting in particular here, so the combat does feel a bit more fluid, thanks to making it a less janky game than, you know, what we're used to from Bethesda. But that being said, it's still exactly what we're used to with Bethesda when it comes to its gameplay loop. It's exactly the fucking same. The combat here is literally just Fallout combat, but without VATS. And it, like I said, it is smoother, but it's still just the same goddamn thing. There's not a new crazy amount of depth. There's not a new crazy amount of things that you can do in combat here that we haven't already been doing in Bethesda games for over a decade now. Like, it just... They've polished off what they've had for 10 years instead of building what they had for 10 years. Instead of adding cool shit on top of their Bethesda combat formula, they're more than fine to just have the exact same combat, but make it play a little bit better. And again, for a lot of people, that's fine. There's a lot of people out there that don't want any kind of, like, big changes to the combat in Bethesda games or new additions. They're totally fine if they can just deliver the exact same combat, but without the jankiness. And for those people, Starfield's going to feel great, because like I said, this is definitely the smoothest gunplay I think Bethesda has had so far. But I would just think, after all of this time, they'd want to do more than that. Like, it's just underwhelming. Like I said, everything in Starfield I think is good. Like, everything is good. There's nothing in here I think is, like, actually shit. There are definitely things I think are a bit weak, but nothing I would actually say is truly bad or awful. It's just this whole package is just so disappointing, because I'm just tired of playing the exact same Bethesda game without anything really changing about it. Even bugs that were present 10 years ago are still present in Starfield. Of course, they're not game-breaking, like, they're very minor things, and for a lot of people the bugs add charm, but come on. Like, it's been over a decade and you still have the same bugs in this game as you did all the way back then? Like, it's just, it shows a complete lack of drive to do something different. They just want to keep delivering the same Bethesda experience. And again, a lot of people want that. I am not one of those people. I wanted more, and I hoped Starfield would be more. So again, nothing in it is bad. If you like Bethesda games, you are no doubt going to like this. But if you wanted more than a Bethesda game, if you wanted Bethesda to be a little more ambitious, you might not be super satisfied. So this is kind of my review of it. It's not a moist meter, but we are still going to have a moist meter for Starfield. It just won't be done by me. A lot of you might not remember, but Jackson actually does the moist meters with me. We usually talk to each other about how we're feeling about the things we moist meter. And I'm tapping out on Starfield. I don't see myself finishing it. I can't find the motivation to push through the boredom. Jackson is loving it. Jackson is someone who's more than comfortable getting the exact same Bethesda experience and nothing more. So Jackson will do the moist meter. So we can get my perspective entirely here and Jackson's entirely on the moist meter. So that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight with Starfield. That's really about it. See ya. I've been back and forth on whether or not to even make a video covering this topic because I've talked about a lot of it extensively for the last couple of years, but today someone on board the team made a statement that is so laughably awful and so goofy, I just felt compelled to once again go over the entire situation and then focus in on that statement. But I recognize that this one person doesn't speak for the entire movie or the entire brand behind it, but it's such a tragically silly statement that they put out that it's hard not to laugh at it. So, The Flash is right around the corner. It's a DC movie that a lot of people are excited for, obviously. However, it's got its fair share of controversy because Ezra Miller plays the Flash. I have covered Ezra Miller's shenanigans over the last year and a half, 2 years, whatever it's been, extensively. Ezra Miller is an absolute menace, a fiend. How Ezra Miller is not in the slammer right now boggles my mind and makes me believe in real-life cheat codes. Of course, the cheat code being fame and money. The list of crimes and accusations against Ezra is longer than the terms of service when signing up to iTunes. It's like 5 full novels worth of accusations against Ezra. It's a ton of shit. It is ridiculous. But I'm not here to really, harp on any of that, because again, I've covered it for quite some time. Ezra Miller's out here like a literal SpongeBob villain, committing as many crimes as possible over the last 2 years, collecting them like Pokemon cards. But it had no effect on The Flash. The movie's still coming out with, of course, Ezra Miller at the front lines, lead role, and it's been a bit of a blemish for the brand's reputation because obviously, alleged kidnapping as well as a myriad of other alleged crimes and assaults and all kinds of unpleasant things. That's not empty calories. Those are pretty serious things. So the top level suits have clearly poured a ton of money into the Flash, well north of 9 figures. This is $100 million+ production, and they obviously don't want to see it go right down the shitter, so they've been trying everything they can to mitigate the damage caused from all of this controversy. They've tried tackling it head on about, an Ezra forgiveness arc and this and that, but that hasn't really gone over well. The Accutane wasn't curing the acne here. The zit persisted, so they've tried a different approach. It's called radio silence. They're playing the no-talking game when it comes to Ezra Miller. I believe they've forbidden Ezra from even being on the PR tour, which I think the reasoning is pretty clear because you never know what might happen with Ezra Miller on a PR tour here. Shit might pop off and another chair gets thrown at an audience member during karaoke. Unpredictable, You're playing Russian roulette. So they decided, put Ezra Miller on the bench. And that's been their main tactic, making sure that the Flash launch is as squeaky clean as possible. However, this strategy of not talking about Ezra Miller wasn't relayed to one person in particular, the production designer, who made a statement today that said, Ezra Miller's performance is so good in this movie that people will forget the crimes. This movie is so good, you're gonna forget all of these crimes. I guarantee it. That's innovative marketing right there. So we go into a meat writing session here where the production designer is just singing the praises of Miller and all the work that was put in, talking about the pressure with, of course, the public being aware of all of the terrible things going on outside of the production with Miller, and having to deal with all that pressure on set, and also just working super hard, only taking 3 days off during the entire shoot, a real fucking champion, a real hero, filming 6 days a week, and Miller did their own stunts. So really just pumping their fists, yeah, this is what hard work is all about. The crimes are meaningless now. Look at this work. And it's not, what's wild, is it's not even that far-fetched of an idea. It's actually something that's been employed many times in the past. So, for example, Riot Games fell into some hot water for a brief period of time due to a lot of nasty allegations coming to light about harassment, sexual stuff, and just a very awful working environment at Riot Games, and they were sued for it. They were facing a massive lawsuit. In fact, one of the reports I vaguely remember talked about how they used to hotbox cubicles with farts. So like one of the riot heads would go in there and just start fucking farting in people's like workspaces, which I always imagine is the most over the top shit. Like he's doing combat roles in the office like James Bond and using his ass as like a weapon with a silencer on it and just like firing poop particles in people's directions. But they had a lot of like these terrible things that all came to light. Eventually they did settle for a massive settlement. Fucking $100 million settlement. That's a lot of doubloons. But the point is, when the public was made aware of what was going on here behind the closed doors, Riot started releasing information on upcoming projects that got people really excited. So people stopped talking so much about all of the awful workplace stuff and instead focused on all of the incredible things Riot was cooking up in the kitchen that they were now releasing a lot of information about. So the timing always made me feel like Riot's strategy was, okay, this is all bad, but what if we can take people's attention away from the bad stuff and instead put it on these projects that we know they want? So that's what they did, and a lot of people totally forgot any of this ever happened. So if that was the strategy, it worked very well. It's also what Logan Paul did. Logan Paul was facing a ton of hot water because of all the Crypto-Zoo shit, and instead of like, trying to swim around in the swamp, he instead just let all of that happen and then did incredible work in the WWE. He had amazing performances in the WWE, so then people stopped focusing on all of the Crypto-Zoo and all the scamming stuff, and instead focused on like, wow, Logan Paul is like a really good WWE performer. So now that's mainly all people talk about there. It's a strategy that actually has been used a lot, and it's really effective. So them saying like Ezra Miller's acting in this movie is so good you're gonna forget all the crimes is not really the most outlandish thing ever. It's just pretty bold to just say that out loud. Like, yeah, his acting is so good, all these crimes, you're not going to care about him. Fuck all the victims and all that. They're going to watch this movie and be blown away by the performance. They're going to stop caring that they were a victim. I just love that the production designer got so excited. They're like, these crimes, who cares? It's a bunch of hoo-ha in the grand scheme of this movie. This movie is more important than any of that. And Miller's performance, it stands on its own two legs. Damn the crimes. To hell with the accusations and the controversy. What matters is the Flash. I don't know. I just found that to be like really entertaining to read that. I'm kind of surprised that the production designer would actually say that. I imagine all of the people, like the higher ups, are probably right now with their hands over their face, just in agony now that this interview's out there. Because they were so close to launch here. And, not many people have been talking about all of the Ezra Miller crimes. Now they're more focused on the hype of The Flash. DC's been shitting the bed, obviously. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, what an embarrassment and an absolute flop. So DC really needs this one to be a home run. And it's been a while now, so a lot of people have already kind of stopped talking about all of the Ezra Miller controversy. But this interview, once again, brings it to the forefront, which I imagine is the last thing they want right before this movie comes out. So I just wanted to talk about it because, a bit of a misstep here, a bit of a blunder taking this interview and saying that. But again, it's one person. I know the production designer doesn't speak for the whole company, but it's certainly not helpful to to say, the performance was so good for Miller that the crimes people are going to forget about. That's not a great look. That's really about it. See ya. I'm no award-winning power lifter, but I still performed an incredible feat of strength today. I watched 3 episodes of She-Hulk. I know. Get your oohs and ahs out of the way. I'm like a circus freak here. How can Charlie do that, What, is he a superhuman? Are you kidding me? 3 episodes of She-Hulk in one sitting? That's right, and I only dozed off once. I'm not lying, this isn't clickbait. I really did watch every episode back to back to back. Call me a hero, call me a villain, call me crazy. But I pulled it off. I did. I must have some kind of unique mutation in my own body that enables me to do these kind of things. It's kind of like in the show where Hulk mentions their bodies metabolize alcohol at a much faster rate than normal people. I have that power, but with not good TV shows. I'm sure you've all heard by now, but Marvel's released yet another TV show. It's She-Hulk. And it hasn't been doing that well. In fact, it's been doing pretty awful. Most people on YouTube and Twitter are insulting it and making fun of it. It's really catching more shit than a porta-potty toilet seat in a construction site. If you only looked at YouTube titles about this show, you'd probably believe that this show somehow gives you gamma radiation just from watching it. It has been getting absolutely fucking slammed and jammed. And I wanted to watch it to see if it really is as bad as everyone's saying. And I just want to make this video giving my opinions on it so far. I've been very upfront and honest. I don't like the Marvel TV shows. The only one that I've liked is Loki. All the other ones I find just a tedious chore to watch. It's just the same formula every fucking time. And it's not just the TV shows, the movies are now following the same formula, and I'm just tired of it. Every character is quippy and quirky and joking back and forth, and nothing interesting is really happening anymore. So I've just completely lost interest in it. But I did want to give this series a fair shake and form an opinion on it, and that's what I'm going to do here, just share my thoughts on it. So right away, the show's not the worst thing ever created, but it's not good. This is a very sub-mediocre show. The biggest crime this show commits is being boring. There is nothing interesting that's happening in this show whatsoever, nor is there even any hints of anything interesting around the corner. It is very much like a CW show, visually and in terms of its writing. The CGI in this just absolutely broke my heart. I could feel the carpal tunnel, the over-exhaustion from the workers that are forced to work on the CGI for yet another Marvel show. It is clear through their work that they are tired. They need a break, because they're not even fucking trying. Like, in the very first episode, a fucking spaceship, floats down, and it looks awful. It actually looks like an Adobe After Effects tutorial on YouTube. It is not good, and that level of CGI persists throughout the remaining 2 episodes. I really think they are just overworking their teams now, and they're just constantly, pumping shit out, and they can't keep the quality there. Because obviously, they're being stretched so thin. So that's an immediate complaint that I'd like to put out there. But let's talk about a lot of the big things people are focusing on Twitter. The first one was a very viral clip from episode 1 where Jin, She-Hulk, is talking to Bruce, and Bruce is talking about how she needs to control her emotions so that way she doesn't freak out and go Hulk form and kill people by accident like he's experienced, right? So she took great offense to that, saying something along the lines of, "I'm great at controlling my emotions. When I get catcalled on the street, or when men try and critique me in my area of expertise, I'm always having to control my emotions and my anger, and I do it much better than you, Bruce." Which is just really fucked up to belittle Bruce. I don't know why she would say that, or why the writers would put that in there as a slap to Bruce. A character with by far the most trauma in the MCU. Most recently, he just lost the love of his life, and he has the only canon suicide attempt in the MCU. It's totally fine to highlight Jin's problems and things that she's experienced that make her upset and all of the legitimate issues she has. But why then make it a competition of who has the most trauma and say I control anger better than you, Bruce. I have it worse than you, Bruce. That's so fucked up. It's downright disrespectful. So there's a reason why a lot of people were mad about that clip, and seeing it in the context of the show does nothing to make it better. It's still the same awful garbage. Now, the rest of the episode is just boring. It's not very interesting, and they set Jin up as a very unlikable protagonist. Her whole attitude is, "I'm better than you in every single way, Bruce, and I'm just going to keep insulting you." That's all she really does for episode 1. Bruce is doing her best to try and help her, train her, and all she does is shit on him for it, and then constantly turn everything into a pissing contest. It's silly. If you're trying to make people not like She-Hulk, they're doing an absolute amazing job. They're fucking crushing it. This is a smashing display of how to make a protagonist people root against. My biggest complaint by far with this show is the writing. I really just can't stand it because it's very generic Marvel. Everything is superseded with a joke or some kind of quip constantly. Now, I get it. Comic book fans had a whole bunch of copium about this show, well, actually, She-Hulk in the comic books is very wacky and zany. She's always making jokes, so it makes sense that her show would be more comedic in tone. And that's fine. That's great. I'm super happy to hear that. But I am so tired of it. Legitimately, the last thing Marvel needed was yet another comedy. Everything they make is a comedy. I don't think there's any lunatic out there that was just oh man, I really like Marvel movies and shows, but they're just a bit too serious. I wish they'd give us something a little goofier, a little lighter. None of the characters left in the MCU have their own personalities anymore. They're all following the exact same formula. Every single character is a jokester. They're always fucking joking. And it's not good jokes. It's just the most obvious cookie cutter recycled garbage over and over again, just being refed constantly. Like, just so tiresome. I can't help but roll my eyes. Even the villains now are just kind of like an extension of the heroes in that they're always joking. Like, nothing is being taken seriously to even the slightest degree anymore, it feels like. Even the fucking Abomination, who's in this show, is just another clown. Like, he's just making jokes constantly. Talking about writing haikus as well as his 7 soulmates and this and that. Like, it's just too much. It's like going into a middle school classroom during a substitute teacher where every student's trying to make like the best joke all at once and they're all terrible. It's fucking... It's painful. And I get it, this show's supposed to be more comedic because it's certainly not focusing on any kind of like action or like a bigger world building so far. This is a very self-contained unit that has other elements from the MCU like Wong, Abomination, Bruce, but it's very much just like a sitcom with them. It's not like a law drama, so they're not focusing on any part of her being an attorney. Like, yes, it's here, but it's very rudimentary. It's not like anything super compelling. It's really mainly just following She-Hulk as she makes jokes with people around her and becomes a superstar. And now they've brought in like so many other super powered people. There's a tiny little side plot where one like chauvinistic asshole was dating a shape-shifting elf from Asgard who was disguising herself as Megan the Stallion, and now he's suing her for it, and you know, Jin's used in court to testify that that guy's a chauvinistic asshole who's so delusional he thought it could have been the real Megan the Stallion. It's all just so fucking dumb. And this is where another big viral Twitter clip comes in of people making fun of the show. At the end of that episode, that's episode 3, there's a post-credit scene where She-Hulk is twerking with Megan the Stallion. And yeah, you know what? It's pretty cringe, but it doesn't bother me. I don't care. It's a post-credit scene. Let them have fun. I don't know why people are making a big hoopla about it. Like that, I have no gripes with that whatsoever. You know, it's not something that had me giggling or getting hype, but I wasn't like upset by it. I wasn't mad about it. I mean, plenty of post-credit scenes in Marvel have been really fucking silly too, so I don't think there's anything super different about that. It's just the whole show itself isn't very good. To me, this whole show just feels soulless, just very robotic and by the numbers, as if they just took a random character from Marvel and plugged them into an MCU media algorithm and it pumped out this entire script in a day. All just written by AI, all just very formulaic. It feels like there's no passion behind it. It just feels like it was made because they need to keep making Marvel stuff to keep people subscribed to Disney+. So they just pump out as much as they can, as quickly as they can, for as many characters as they can to keep that train rolling. There's just nothing at all happening right now. At the end of episode 3, she does get into a bit of a fight, a little scuffle, which is the first fight of the show outside of episode 1. And it's against just 4 no-named nobody henchmen in an alley. And they're wielding crowbars and a mace and like a needle, and there's little particle effects coming off of them. So she easily dispatches them by just doing this. It's kind of like a Detroit urban survival training course where Dale's telling you just like how to tackle 5 assailants all at once, where you just go in a circle and like slap their back. That's how she fights. You know, obviously she overpowers all of them. She's the fucking She-Hulk. But, like, they couldn't have at least made the fight a little more interesting. Like, they'll hit her with the mace, she doesn't feel it, and then she just slaps to the side, or throws to the side, or throws up, and like, that's it. It's just, the action's not fun to watch. There's no, like, drama, there's no stakes, there's nothing besides just jokes. And I just really think that's really run its course. It's not very entertaining. Maybe it'll get better in the next few episodes, I couldn't tell you, but I don't really see where it goes from here. They're trying to set something up because the bad guys at the end there say, you know, the boss isn't going to like this or whatever. So it's trying to maybe set something up, but it's just not interesting. Yeah, anyway, that's really like my full thoughts on the show so far. I'll probably finish it just to see where it goes, if it goes anywhere at all. But yeah, anyway, that's about it. See ya. Well, the Halo show's finally over, which is great news, but unfortunately, like a zit during puberty, it will be back, because they already booked Season 2 before this dumpster fire ever even aired. which is baffling. Their confidence in the show is misplaced, and the team behind it feels like they wanted to use as little as possible from the Halo universe, and they made that clear right away when they proudly stated that they didn't play the games and had no desire to ever play the games, and you can almost feel that in the show itself. Like, deep in the DNA of the show, it feels like it was made by people that hate Halo and just wanted to make fun of it subtly. Though it's not very subtle when one of the major lines is, "Find the Halo, win the war," which is nonsensical butthole speak. Pretty much half of the lines in this entire show feel like they were generated by Cleverbot. Like, it feels AI generated. It's crazy that the show's in the state that it's in. They take a beloved franchise like Halo and make this wet fart out of it. I don't get the point at all. This shit is more cringe than the butt ugly Martians. It really feels like they initially wrote a generic sci-fi script but knew it wouldn't do that well, so they slapped Halo on it just for some guaranteed eyes on the project. But I don't think it worked out super well for them because most people I know stopped watching after the first 3 episodes. Across the entire 9 episodes, there's only 4 action scenes, and I'm not one of those guys that just needs to have my hand on my dick watching mindless action to be entertained, but those are the only good moments in the show. They do the action well. I actually thought they did a good job of making Master Chief and all the other Spartans on Silver Team look really badass and show just how strong one Spartan can be. They really do a great job of showing how fucking amazing the Spartans are. So that's when the show's at its best, when it's just giving you action. Everything aside from that is so bad. Now, I already made a video on Halo up until episode 8, but now that episode 9 is finished, this is just going to be like a little moist meter for it. So episode 9 is actually one of the better episodes of the series, which isn't exactly high praise because the whole series is bad, so it's like comparing shit to poop. But what really carries episode 9 is the last 20 minutes where they finally go to the Covenant homeworld. They finally take the fight to the Covenant, and it is probably only the 3rd time the Covenant have ever even been in the show. The majority of everything that happens in the show is just family drama and the Spartans having memories and Master Chief fucking because he falls in love with a girl after meeting her twice. So outside of that, the Covenant have just barely even had a role to play in this show until the very end of this episode, and they do a great job. They actually set up an entire level that seems like it was lifted right out of Halo Combat Evolved, so I give them props there. They did a great job with the set. So the Spartans drop in, they hot drop, fucking nuts to butts. They're killing all kinds of grunts that are sleeping, which is a nice homage. They kill all kinds of elites, they're fighting the brutes, and it's really flashy, it's really cool, and the entire time it looks like a level straight out of Halo. It's really, really enjoyable. But then towards the end of the fight, it goes back to Master Chief being whiny, stinky diaper baby man, who then, goes back into the mainframe of the artifacts, and he's talking to McKee, and he's crying, he's all upset, and then she gets shot, and he's like, "No, don't do that, why'd you get shot? Ah!" And it's hard to even care about the character, because you don't really get to see her much. She doesn't do much, she's just more of a nuisance. You don't know anything about her, so the audience doesn't really care that she gets shot, but John does. And then in his sorrow and despair, he lets Cortana take over his whole body in order to get the artifact out and save his Spartans. So now Cortana takes over Master Chief and he becomes basically a fucking fleshlight for Cortana to use. So Cortana / Master Chief kill all the Covenant around them, take the artifact, and they zip off the planet. And there's a massive plot hole here because all 3 of the prophets are right there, right above the artifact that Cortana takes. She could have killed the prophets. They weren't guarded or anything. She could have just killed all 3 of them and then taken the artifact, and pretty much put the kibosh on the entire Covenant right away. But that was never even briefly thought of in Cortana's infinite wisdom. But anyway, that's where episode 9 ends. Everything before that is just more boring garbage, where it's Halsey's doing questionable moral things, and then they're trying to hunt her down and kill her for all of her crimes. But she manages to elude them, and then at the end you see her plotting to propel humanity forward to the transcendence and shit like that. But what I think is the best part about episode 9 is it completely forgets about Kwa Han. And I think that's when the show's at its best. So the last 2 episodes didn't have Kwa Han in them, and they were better episodes. I really think Kwa Han was one of the worst additions they could have made to the show. And I want to again specify, I think the actress that plays Kwa Han did a great job. It's just that character had no impact on anything that happened in this show at all. Everything played out exactly the same as if Kwa Han wasn't there. She contributed nothing. So all of those episodes spent with her were useless. They didn't do anything. They didn't lead to anything. Maybe they do in season 2, but even still, it's hard to get excited about that because her entire plotline was so annoying and so boring. Why even have her there? I really think the best thing that can happen to the Halo show is lightning strikes the office and hits the season 2 script, and when they're rewriting it, they forget Quahan ever existed in the first place. Or even better, they don't even bother rewriting season 2 script and just chalk it up as just a loss. And then we only had to deal with one insultingly awful season of this show. That would probably be the best case. Anyway, plugging the Halo show into the moist meter, I'm giving it a 30%. Like I said, I do think the action carried it. I thought they actually did a really decent job with it. The set pieces that they put on there really did make it feel like it came straight out of the game. And I wish I had seen more of that, considering there were so few action sequences. But what I really wish is that the show was just good and not dog shit. I wish that they actually bothered putting any amount of care into the show as opposed to just making it a generic sci-fi bore fest. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah, this could be the most controversial video I've made since the time I debated bone-in versus boneless chicken wings. Or I could be completely wrong here, hitting the crack pipe, and it might just be an extremely cold, stale take. I'm really not sure. Could go either way. I'm just super tired of superhero content. Marvel shows, Marvel DC movies, I just don't get excited for them anymore. Superhero fatigue, I think, is the term a lot of people use now, which I think is underselling it because it's not just being worn out from so much of it, it's being genuinely put off because so much of it's being shoved down your throat. It's more of a soreness from being face-fucked by superheroes for so long now. Marvel just unveiled like 6,000 new shows and movies on the horizon here, and I've been asked my opinion on each and every one of them. It's just exhausting, because it's like being asked to rate every individual noodle in a bowl of spaghetti. I'm gonna rate them all pretty much the same, because they all taste the same. Now I want to be clear before people get too upset and flipping over their chair in a fit of rage and anger. There's nothing wrong with liking superhero content. Nothing at all. In fact, I still do enjoy watching it in the moment, like I have fun watching them, but it's not like I get excited. But there's nothing wrong with being excited either. You can have a completely different opinion from me. It's just I feel like everything for superhero content is pretty much the same these days. And I think it's important I define exactly what I mean here. I'm talking entirely about Marvel and DC. I love The Boys and I loved Invincible, and those are both two superhero shows. But they're very different from the Marvel DC formula. Very, very, very far removed from those two. To give you an example, every time Marvel or DC drops a new trailer for a show or movie, I'm always asked on stream to watch it and give my opinion on it, and I always draw the same conclusion, that it was a pretty generic trailer that followed the same formula that they've been using for the last decade. And to go even further, when I watched the Black Adam trailer on stream, I started to guess upcoming lines correctly, even though I had never seen the trailer before.
You can be the destroyer of this world.
Or the savior.
Or you can be its savior.
What a guess.
The world needed a hero.
It got me.
Instead, it got
Oh,
me.
I'm nuts! I'm nuts! Let's go! God, this is so fucking generic. It doesn't take a galaxy brain intellect here to piece together what the next lines were going to be. This wasn't exactly like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2 with, next you're going to say this, and it'd be really impressive. I think these were pretty predictable lines that most people could have seen coming, because all superhero movies basically have the same bones these days. They follow very similar structure. Every character, again, follows very similar patterns where they're always making jokes and quipping with one another, and these lines in the trailers are always very similar. I have a feeling they're all written by the same team. They just like outsource it to the superhero trailer department because they always pretty much play out the exact same. And again, there's nothing wrong with liking that either. I enjoy superhero movies as well. I have fun watching them. I leave happy. It feels good, and that's as far as it goes. There's nothing wrong with it being that level of entertainment, but it's getting to a point where I'm just really tired of seeing the same thing every time, so now I'm not really leaving happy, I'm leaving bored. Like with Thor, Love and Thunder. It's not a bad movie, like none of the superhero movies or shows are like actually shit, like dog shit. There's just so many of them now, and it's hard to care. It also just seems completely aimless, like there's no goal for these movies anymore. In the beginning, it always tied back into like the Avengers and Thanos and all of that, which was cool. It gave it an overarching purpose. But now they've introduced like a million fucking characters into the mega mix here. They threw like 20,000 ingredients into a stew, and it's just an overload that you can't appreciate, or at least I can't. Again, this is just about my personal opinion on it. I'm just pretty tired of seeing so much superhero shit, and I do watch all of it still. It's not like I'm boycotting or anything. I still do indulge and watch all of it, except for the shows. I cannot finish the shows. The only show I've actually been able to watch start to finish is Loki. It's the only one I've enjoyed. All of the other ones I've dropped after like 3 episodes. They're so fucking boring, and they're just always the same goddamn thing. I'm watching carbon copies of one another, like just clones. I feel like I'm taking absolute crazy pills here, getting hit by like an insanity beam from space. It really just seems every show for Marvel follows the exact same formula, as well as the movies. I liked the new Doctor Strange, even though a lot of people didn't. I had fun with it, but it's a movie I haven't thought about since finishing the viewing. It's not like I forget that I watched them. Like, I have fun in the moment, and then it's immediately erased from my memory like the Men in Black just kicked down my door to take it out with a neuralizer. It's movies that are just fun to shove some popcorn in your face and enjoy like 2-hour ride, but that's about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to its shows and its movies, I just feel like all of the superhero content follows the exact same formula. Every character is pretty much exactly the same except for their powers. They're always constantly quipping, making short little jokes with one another, undercutting the serious moments with humor at every step. It's just hard to like get invested when you know exactly how all of these are going to play out. It's also just hard to care when it seems like there's no goal. One thing that really helped with Marvel in particular is all of it tied into the Avengers and getting to that in-game situation. Like, all of it had a big purpose, which I feel like it's completely lacking now. Like, I didn't even realize we were in phase 4 or phase 5, and now we're moving into phase 6 or some shit. Like, none of this has any meaning to me. It's all completely worthless nonsense. Phase 6 now? Like, who the fuck cares? What happened in phase 4 or 5? Like, yeah, there were some good movies there that I enjoyed, but do they tie into each other? Is there an actual goal? I have no clue. And I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be tie-ins. It'd be fine if they're their own standalone things, but if they were actually unique with an interesting identity, but they're not. They don't tie in, yet they still follow the exact same formula. I don't know, it seems completely aimless. They're just always making as much superhero shit as possible, just going purely for the big quantity play. And it's working. Like, I know they're all still doing well, but I have to wonder how much longer they can continue to milk this dry tit. I can't imagine I'm alone here. I know there is a lot of people experiencing superhero fatigue, but I just don't know how big it is. Now, one other thing I'd like to at least bring up here in reference to all this is that this Marvel/DC superhero formula is something that's really infected a lot of other movies and shows because they're trying to emulate that same formula. To give you an example, the new Dungeons and Dragons movie coming out, they dropped the trailer. I felt like I was watching a Marvel trailer. They took all of the same beats that the superhero movies and shows do and translated it to D&D. So they basically just took a Marvel movie and gave it a D&D skin. At least that's what the trailer leads me to believe. Every character is doing the same shit they do in Marvel. They're constantly making jokes, they're quipping, everyone's so quirky. The writing feels exactly the same. The trailer feels exactly the same. They also get some of the Dungeons and Dragons shit wrong, as I understand it. I'm not a huge D&D guy. I only have very limited experience with campaigns. But they're just very much going for that big spectacle stuff that Marvel's known for while putting jokes into it at every single step. And I'm just so tired of it. Like, not every character needs to be Tony Stark. This all started because Tony Stark was such a popular character, and he had great writing. He had great jokes, he had great lines, but he was really the only one doing those jokes and those lines in that movie initially. And going forward, they started to like kind of integrate that same personality trait to all of their other characters. Thor, I do think, started as like goofy jokes and stuff like that, so I wouldn't necessarily say that was influenced there. But bringing it forward into every other character, they kept taking little elements of that and putting it into those characters where it didn't need to be. In fact, I think it detracts from it. Not every character should be joking all the time. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. It's too much. And just in general, too much of superheroes overall. I really think they need to dial it back a little bit and give themselves a little more time to let it cook in the oven and deliver something more tasty, something better than what we're currently getting, because it feels like it's just written by a bot now. A bot that knows the formula and keeps churning it out as quickly as possible for maximum turnaround and profit. I'm just a little over it, and I wanted to share my opinion on it, because so many new shows and movies have been announced for superheroes that I keep getting asked about, and I just want to make it clear I'm not like looking forward to watching them. I'm sure I will watch them and at least have a decent time. Like, it's not like a waste of time to watch them, but it's not like I'm eagerly, biting at my nails waiting for it either. It's something that I'll watch for the sake of a moist meter, but past that, it's not like I'm excited for the content coming up, because I feel like I know exactly what we're going to get, and it's just something that I'm tired of getting. And anyway, that's about it. So, yep. In life, you're always going to make mistakes. The most important part is how you handle it after. But I pray you never make a mistake as big as I did when it came to the moist meter for Morbius. I gave Morbius a shockingly low 15%. And I think it's because I just didn't understand the movie at the time. There's really a lot of themes and subtle vicissitudes with the film that a lot of laymen just might not get on the first watch, which is why today I revisited the film, and now I really understand why this has become the highest grossing movie of all time. My third eye's truly been opened, and Dr. Michael Morbius has entered my body like the Holy Spirit and shown me the light. I have been morbed. I see how wrong I was with my initial grading of the film, and if I could go back and change it now, I wouldn't give it a 15%, I'd give it a 15,000%. I still lie awake at night with cold sweats remembering that 15% that I gave this film. Probably the biggest crime I've ever committed and the most embarrassing, shameful moment of my life, and absolutely my biggest regret. If I won the lottery today and then lost the ticket, my biggest regret would still be giving Morbius a 15%. And I just want to deeply apologize to all the mega morbers out there. You deserved a better review, and I just didn't provide. But today I'm correcting that mistake, and I'm going to talk about why I think this film is so powerful and just important in general. I would honestly argue that the creation of the Morbius film is just as important as the discovery and use of penicillin in our society. It just completely changed the game for us. It's more than a movie. It's a Morbi that's not afraid to challenge the audience and make them reflect on their own lives and teach us that anything is possible, and to confront your hardships with the utmost Morbius attitude. You see, in the film, Dr. Michael Morbius was dealt a bad hand in life. He was afflicted with a disease that didn't allow him to morb. But thanks to his intellect and his no-quit, can-do attitude, he was able to develop a remedy, and god damn it, he started morbing. When I first saw the beautiful scene, I didn't really grasp the magnitude of the situation. I was pretty much alone in the movie theater, and I think that's because people fear what they don't understand. And Morbius is a movie that will drag you kicking and screaming into the light and show you things that maybe you're just not ready for. Watching Morbius is a lot like taking bath salts, except it gives you permanent superpowers and the feeling lasts forever. You become a changed person, an improved, evolved human being upon finishing the Morbius film. Now, the scene when he begins morbing, I think, is one that will stand the test of time, and we'll look back on generations from now as the lightning rod that showed us what we're capable of. When I rewatched the film today and he started his first morb, I couldn't help but pump my fist and just cheer him on with tears in my eyes. It was just so good. I was more emotional watching that scene than I was when I lost my virginity. It's something that is an indescribable euphoria. Now, I'm sure you've seen at least a few Morbius memes, but I'd like to share with you what I believe to be the best one. This is "The Devil Shivers When a Clown Starts Morbing." This, of course, references Jared Leto's iconic performance as the Joker in the Suicide Squad movie, while also showcasing his talent with the Morbius film. I would say, though, that Jared Leto does not portray Morbius. Morbius himself used Jared Leto like a fucking fleshlight in order to tell his story on the screen. We're not watching an actor. We're watching a possession. We were invited to go on a 2-hour, non-stop, high-octane adventure with the real Morbius. I bet there wasn't even a script for this movie. The real Morbius just showed up on set after taking control of Jared Leto's body, and they started filming. And everything that happened from that point forward was authentic and genuine. And there's so much we can learn from it. I really only have one complaint about this movie, and it's the fact that it's not long enough. This movie could have gone on for 6 hours and I'd still be screaming for Morb. I just want this movie to go on forever. I wish Morbius was a live stream that never stopped. Honestly, this just feels so good to finally correct my mistake with my initial assessment of Morbius. And I do want to again apologize to all the mighty Morbin Power Rangers out there that saw this film for what it was. And I was just blind to it at the time, but no longer. I am happy to finally get all this out there. And in the words of the great Dr. Michael Morbius, a Morb will do what a Morb does. Autobots, roll out. God, I still can't stop thinking about the final fight in this movie. The climactic showdown between Dr. Michael Morbius and the villain. It is perhaps one of the most beautiful action sequences ever captured in the cinema. It is a flying vampire fight between two Morbs. And the bad guy says, "It's time to eat your vegetables, Michael." And I swear to God, without missing a beat, Morbius says to the guy, he says, "Vegetables aren't on the menu tonight, bub. Tonight, it's freedom and blood." Right before delivering an axe kick super crane power punch right to the bad guy, killing him instantly. And then he becomes a bat and flies away. It's just a delight. Now, I do want to go into a little bit more detail on something outside of the film here. I think it is absolutely fucking wild that a movie has been carried by memes this hard. The movie seems to have turned a profit, at least off its initial production budget. I don't know if it actually made money considering marketing, but the fact that it's able to generate something even close to positive revenue blows me away, because this movie is absolute dog shit, and the only reason why people saw it was to make fun of it. For the first week or so, every theater was completely empty, mine included. No one cared about this movie until the memes arrived, and they were some high quality dank shit posts for sure. So it got people at least interested enough to go pay a couple of bucks to sit in an empty theater to watch it, just to see how bad it was. And it's a pretty boringly bad movie. It's not like an entertainingly fun bad one. It's just a pretty stale shit show. And I think that's why the memes slap so hard. They were just hitting different because this movie is so bad. It's like cheering on a train wreck. It's like you make a joke out of it, but it's still a terrible, terrible thing that you're witnessing. That's what it's like for Morbius. And with so many memes coming out around it, like the audience score being 2,000% and all of that, and it's made $352 trillion, all of it contributed to getting people at least somewhat interested in being a part of the joke. So somehow, memes were able to carry this colossal flop into a position where it almost made a little bit of money, which is both amazing and sad at the same time. But I think the best thing that can come from this is a Morbius sequel. Because if they're just looking at pure numbers, yeah, it didn't do great by superhero standards, but it still made like $150 million, which was more than they spent on production. Of course, again, doesn't account for marketing, but still. I mean, that's not bad. That's not awful. That might be enough for a sequel, and god damn it, I think it's what this world deserves. I would love to see a Morbius 2. And this time, I hope it's 6 times as long as the first one. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit today because the Morbius memes are still popping. They're still extremely popular memes, which is blowing my mind because the movie's already been out of theaters for like 3 weeks, it seems. So the memes are still persisting, and I'm very curious to see how much longer those go before it gets drawn out and tiresome. But I guess we're not at that point yet. That's about it. See ya. Movies have existed for as long as the human imagination has. Some say movies are almost as old as erections themselves. Now, Hollywood's become pretty stale and formulaic. I'm not saying the movies are bad, but they are shitting out basically the same movie every single time, just by the numbers, safe shit. They're afraid to take risks. What I want to show you today is a director who's not afraid to take risks, and his name is Neil Breen. Some of you have probably heard of him. I have been following Mr. Breen since 2012, so I'm kind of a bit of a hipster when it comes to Mr. Breen. I am a big fan of his work. In fact, in 2015, I actually sent Mr. Breen a Facebook message asking if I could audition for his upcoming movie. I didn't receive a response. Unsurprisingly, he only hires the best actors that he could possibly find on Fiverr, so I didn't get the cut. But anyway, I want to show you the scene, and I want to tell you why this is probably the most important scene in all of cinema, the most important scene of any movie ever created.
Jim! Jim! Call 911! Jim! Jim! How could you have done this? Jim! I can't believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide. How could you have done this? How could you have committed suicide? I can't help you out of this one, Jim. With all we've been through, I can't pull you out of this one.
Now, there's no shame in admitting you cried here. Just go ahead and wipe your tears away with some tissues. To me, I can't help but tear up every time I watch this goddamn scene. This shit fucks me up. It's like that scene in the Pokemon series in the Season 1 where Ash sets down Pikachu and runs away because he wants to abandon Pikachu because he thinks Pikachu's better off. Shit tears me up every time. So does this scene. This is from Neil Breen's Fateful Findings movie. It's a very powerful scene and it's moving even if you don't know the context. It elicits a very visceral response from human beings because it's so well acted and performed. It becomes incredibly believable, as if you're just taking a peek into a real life situation in which a man comes home, finds his friend dead on the floor in front of their old Ferrari because of suicide.
Jim! Jim!
Immediately you can hear the panic in Breen's voice as he calls out to Jim to no avail. Jim has left the corporeal dimension, Breen knows it, but the shock hasn't totally set in yet, so he keeps helplessly crying out for his friend.
Call 911!
There's nobody else in the garage, so there's no telling who Neil Breen was truly targeting with the call 911 line. Movie scientists are still debating it to this day. Perhaps it was a metaphor, or perhaps he was calling out to Jesus Christ himself to dial 911.
Jim! Jim! How could you have done this? Jim!
It's honestly painful to watch and hear. You can really feel the sadness. It's no surprise why Hollywood's too afraid to take a chance on Neil Breen. This is the type of movie Hollywood wouldn't fuck with a 10-foot condom, because it's too real, it's too believable. People would be scared, they'd be leaving the theater scarred because they'd feel like they're not even watching a movie. It transcends a movie, and it becomes a real-life experience that everyone takes part in their own special way.
I can't believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide.
Neil Breen is known for his method acting, and it very clearly shows. In fact, some people say Neil Breen actually watched his real-life best friend commit suicide right in front of him just so he could train for this scene in the movie, so he could figure out how exactly to respond on screen in the most believable way. And the effort, it clearly shows. And he's also not afraid to shy away from showing you the bloody details and rubbing his friend's blood all over his face. Jim's blood now covers Neil Breen's entire face. And he's not afraid to shy away from it. Where other directors may want to, pull the punch, Neil Breen says, I'm going to fist your ass with this punch. And he shows you the goriness and the horror of the suicide that Jim has committed. And he cannot believe it.
How could you have done this? How could you have committed suicide? I can't help you out of this one, Jim. With all we've been through, I can't pull you out of this one.
I don't think I need to point out why that ending there is genius. That's on the same level as Blade Runner, The Greats, the Citizen's Kane. Honestly, this is a type of powerful, performance that I think Hollywood is desperately missing. With their same basic shit being pumped out every year, month after month, they need visionaries like Breen on the big screen, and I think his time is coming. I really do think he's only a movie or two away from really busting it into the big spotlight, because he deserves it. The scene speaks for its fucking self, honestly. It's a beautiful one, and I highly encourage you to check out more of Neil Breen's work. Fateful Findings is only the tip of the iceberg. Neil Breen has been constantly evolving ever since his humble beginnings with Double Down. He has been constantly growing as a director, an actor, a performer, a musician, a transcendent being. He is all of these things and more, and he just keeps getting stronger, and I can't recommend his movies enough, and it makes me happy to see so many more people finding out about Neil Breen and his good work. So, Mr. Breen, keep up the great work, and I just wanted to highlight this scene in particular because I think it speaks very well for exactly the type of essence that mainstream movies are missing these days. So yeah. Compared to Marvel movies, DC movies are basically like the fucking Tommy Wiseau of superhero movies. They're abominable, with the only exception being Wonder Woman. That's the only good DC movie so far. And no, to the 5 or 6 flaccid, cocked, semi-chubbed warriors that defend DC movies in the comment section, you can't count the Dark Knight series. That's a Nolan series. That's cheating. DC makes shitty stinkers. They're not fun to watch, they make no sense, and they're just bad movies. Suicide Squad's probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen in a movie theater, and they're just keeping this momentum going forward. Now they've released an Aquaman poster, which is probably the worst poster I've ever seen for a movie that scale, ever. It is absolutely fucking atrocious. It genuinely looks like a high school art student threw it together as some type of creative piece for class. It literally uses stock images in the fucking poster. Literal stock images. Here, look at this. It's a Getty image. It's a fucking Getty image in this poster for this massive budget DC movie. It's fucking Aquaman. Everyone knows Aquaman. You'd have to travel 15,000 miles to a tribe that's never had human contact to find someone that hasn't heard of the superhero Aquaman. And you're going to give him the filthy asshole of a Getty image on his poster? Disrespectful. It's a horrible poster. There's nothing cool about it. This pose isn't cool. It doesn't look cool. It looks like this is like something that would be hung in a SeaWorld. It's awful. It's fucking awful. I want to spend time talking about how bad this is. Like, just look at this pose. Who is this pose cool to? It's stupid. It's fucking dumb. It's laughable. What was the direction for this? Yeah, just kind of squat right there and hold the trident. Just, do what Aquaman would do if he was taking a shit on top of a rock. Yeah, Jason, just go ahead and pretend you're on an invisible surfboard, but you're also trying to duck under something as well. He looks like Tiger Woods analyzing the green right before a putt. Maybe I'm just getting old, and maybe this is like one of the coolest fucking poses out there right now. Let me give myself a little photo shoot here and see how cool I look with this same type of shit. Fuck! Jesus. I also love how he's wearing leather pants underwater. This is like an 8-year-old's perception of what's cool. I'm surprised he's not wearing sunglasses and a leather jacket from like the fucking Hells Angels biker gang. It's so dumb and laughable. Like, what the fuck were they thinking here? This had to pass through so many different corporate layers, and artists had to okay this in a bunch of different departments before they said, yep, this looks good, this will represent our movie nicely, go ahead and post that shit. Someone in there, someone in that chain must have this sinister agenda where they know the movie's gonna be shitty, and they want people to know that right away. So maybe home is calling as the catchphrase is kind of like, yeah, maybe you should just stay at home and not go see this movie. Look at our poster. That's indicative of the quality the movie's going to be. And then for some reason, somewhere in this chain as well, someone looked at it and said, damn it, there's just not enough fucking sharks in there. There's not enough going on. Okay, we can fix that. Why don't we have Harold just duplicate one of the sharks 3 times in the top left to kind of fill space? That's a brilliant idea. Good shit, do it. So now they just clone 3 sharks up there, the exact same one. Unreal. It's so lazy and awful. It's unbelievable that this is the actual official poster, and the director himself is defending it. It's not like I'm a big Aquaman fan or anything, so it's not like seeing this poster is them spitting on my childhood or anything, but man, seeing this poster is like spitting on my intelligence, though. It's like, I can clearly see there's not a whole lot of passion or a lot of talent in this poster, and you're gonna tell me that this is good shit? James is going to defend this. James, the director, I'm calling him by his first name because obviously we're close friends. He's going to defend this as like an actual good piece. You got me fucked up. How dumb do you think I am? I don't sit there and wipe my ass with my bare hand. I use toilet paper like a civilized man. I'm not gonna sit here and be fed this kind of bullshit that it's like, yeah, this is big budget shit. No, this looks like an indie movie. This looks like some type of music video still from like a Bollywood video. It's dumb. It's fucking awful. You can do better. Anyone could do better. I could probably do something better than this, and I fucking suck at photos and shit. It's really, really bad. Yeah, well, needless to say, my expectations for the movie are pretty low now, as if they weren't already low enough with DC's track record. But that's the poster. Good shit. So yeah.
What threats are out there?
Oh yeah, he just straight fucking socked an old woman.
It's probably someone who's evil. Go back. Go back.
We'll go back and get an instant replay in a moment, babe. Jesus, your bloodlust for old women getting slapped. I mean, yeah, maybe it's like a shapeshifter or like a synthetic person or something, maybe. Like a robot, but I mean, that's quite the gamble.
Oh no, that's literally just on a subway.
Yeah, but like, it could be an alien.
Out there.
But that's a gamble for Marvel. Like, we're gonna sell a strong female protagonist. How are we gonna do it? Just have her fucking punch the shit out of an old woman. Bang! This'll teach you to be friendly. I'm sold. She's truly the most heroic of us all.
Alright, I think you're good now.
Yeah, I think I made my point. She's a goddamn superhero. Enforcing order on the subway. Jesus Christ. That's a bold move. Yeah, fucking banish the old woman to the shadow realm. Christ. Like, that's a superhero punch, too. That's not no, like, pussy-ass punch. That's like some meat behind it.
This is the way I want you to drink it. Hello there.
Hello, welcome to Splash TV Movie Reviews, the only reviews that are so trustworthy you'd let us raw dog you because you know that we'd pull out in time and also not give you any diseases. Today's movie we'll be reviewing is Doctor Strange, starring Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange, a fucking spot-on casting call. He absolutely nailed the character. Now, as I've said before, superhero movies are among my favorites, and the last superhero movie I saw was Suicide Squad, which I thought was pretty shitty. It left a very foul taste of ass in my mouth, but after finishing Doctor Strange, it has not only cleansed my palate, where I once tasted rectum, now all I taste is the sweet, savory sensation of boeuf bourguignon. It was a fucking great movie. Now, ordinarily in my movie reviews, I spoil a lot of the movie's plot, and this will be no exception. So the movie starts by showing Doctor Strange in the operating room, letting you know how good he is at what he does. He's basically doggy-styling nurses while he's performing open-heart surgeries. Usually some humans require machine assistance when they make some precise cuts and shit, but he can just toss the scalpel in his mouth and do it as a joke. He's just this incredibly skilled surgeon. But then he gets into a car accident because he was texting and driving pretty much, and he loses the ability to do surgeries because his hands get all fucked up. And then he spirals into a very dark place and just keeps trying to find ways to fix his hands. He eventually comes in contact with someone known as the Ancient One, who begins to teach them some mystical magic stuff. And this is where my first complaint about the movie comes into play. I love the magic stuff. I love all that mystical stuff and the trippy vibe that it has, because it sends you on like an LSD-induced acid trip for a little while, and it's really fucking cool. I like that a lot. I just don't think they use the mystical powers very well. For instance, they're able to draw weapons into existence, but they choose to bring forth the most useless weapons, like very small whips and chains. Basically, they bring shoelaces and start slapping each other with them, and a very small shield. Why wouldn't you give a bigger shield, like a whole fucking building for a shield, and bring like a giant axe, like a 900-foot axe or something? That's like if I had the ability to conjure weapons on the spot and I'm choosing to bring ukuleles and recorders into the world and try and beat people to death with them. It makes no sense. Why wouldn't you give yourself a more useful weapon instead of these very small reach shit piles of ass? And another thing, a very reoccurring power, is their ability to change the terrain and make buildings shift and fall onto each other, shift the world and all that. That's a very powerful thing, but they only use it to trip each other. That's genuinely the only time it's used. Why wouldn't you use that power to try and crush them between buildings or make shit fall onto them or make them fall onto shit? Why would you reserve that ability for, oh, I'm going to throw you off balance, get ready, here comes a real zinger, it flies real fast in the Thunderdome, gotcha, yep, you fell, I win. It's just dumb, you know, that you have this really powerful thing and you use it for such a dumb purpose. But overall, I love the way the magic was used. For the most part, I just feel they could have done more with it. The main villain wasn't bad. He was a simple character, which is good. You know, he had a very clear goal that he strives for. I want to take Earth and put it in the dark dimension with Dormammu, and he can do whatever he wants with it. He can make it his third testicle. Just get us to the dark dimension so we exist beyond time, so we all live forever. A decent idea. Really not bad. Dormammu was a pretty cool villain. He had a face that looked like some very long purple pubic hairs. It was kind of cool looking. I enjoyed that. The villain I didn't like is the last one they revealed, Baron Mordo. I thought his was very shitty. He became a villain because he felt betrayed because the Ancient One tapped into power from the Dark Dimension, and he didn't like how Doctor Strange could manipulate time. He thought it broke the natural laws, so then he becomes a supervillain. It's pretty shitty. He's just like this strict fucking 5th grade hall monitor who takes the rules too seriously, where the rules are unbreakable no matter what. Even though Doctor Strange saves Earth and time itself and everything, he still hates him for breaking the natural law of things. So I thought that was kind of a dumb reason. I know that wasn't his reason for being evil in the comic books, so I feel like they could have done something cooler here. I thought Baron Mordo as a character in the movie was awesome though. I just didn't like his reason for being a bad guy. Now, overall, I have so few complaints about this movie. I thought it was fucking great. The story was fun. The visuals were absolutely stunning. Ben My Dick Cucumber Snatch did great as Doctor Strange. I fucking loved the ending. The fight with Dormammu, I thought that was beautifully done. It's my favorite ending to any Marvel movie, or pretty much any superhero movie in general. I thought it was just fucking great. And really, just overall, it was a fun movie to watch. So, as per tradition at Splash TV Movie Reviews, I'll give this one a moisture rating. I'm giving this one easily an amlactin out of absolute moisture. Amlactin doesn't just moisturize dry skin, it fucking makes dryness go extinct. It regrows your skin. It's so goddamn moist. Now, that's exactly what this movie did for me. The last two superhero movies, Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad, left me so dry, but this movie heavy duty moisturized me. Big time. I left the theater dripping wet. It was fucking great. Easily an amlactin out of absolute moisture. So, yeah, that's all. And remember, Splash TV's making you wet. It's your moisture. Use it when you need it. Call J.G. Wetsworth, 877-SPLASH now.